welcome back to Jeremy's coaching session. Today, I have a student project of a game about a fish, actually. So, if you guys don't mind, maybe you guys can maybe just do a very quick introduction of yourself and maybe like what is this game about. I'll just play through the game. Don't mind me, I'm gonna struggle a bit, but I'm just gonna play through while you guys talk over your introduction. Maybe tell us a little bit of the game, just a quick introduction of your game. Yeah.
I guess I'll go ahead. So,
Yep.
hi, I'm Azwa. I'm the game designer of this game, and I'm here with Kason, who's our lead artist. So, he's done all the modeling and all the art that you'll see here. And then we have Ryan, who's our programmer, and he's done all the programming for this. So, it's just a three-man team.
Mm-hmm.
And our game is about a little fish, a sardine. His name is Sardonius. And he has only one dream, and it's to leave his tank and be human. So our game is set inside the house of a scientist, so you'll see like weird gadgets everywhere. And the sardine gets to know that in the basement of this scientist's house, there is a magic kraken that will grant his wish. So he's just traveling through different rooms trying to get to this lab. And along the way, he has to manage his oxygen levels, which will be going down. So he has to go to bodies of water to get that up. And alongside this, he will have the ability to gain two different types of power ups, which are limbs. So, a set of arms and a set of legs that will help him progress through his journey. So, these aren't his own limbs. These are just things that he's finding around the place, like silly arms, or for the legs, which we'll keep secret for now. It's just something fun that you'll find out later, but it's just random objects that you'll have to get to gain limbs.
Mm,
And it's just super fun. And the game is a physics-based game, so
mm,
it's meant to be a bit difficult. You can compare it to I Am Bread because its controls are a bit like difficult to master.
mm-hmm.
And that's about it.
Yeah. Okay, all right. Yeah, you can see me like really trying to get this fish onto this thing. Okay, thanks for the introduction. So I guess my question would be like, I guess what you guys are looking for in today's session. What are you hoping to get out of this session? Like, what do you? Is there anything you're looking for? Is there any kind of specific advice you are seeking? Like, what sort of things that's on your mind right now based on what we're going to go through today?
I think right now,
Mm-hmm.
because like I said, right now we're preparing for a submission.
Yep.
And at the end of the line, by September, we are working towards a fuller version of the game. So we might
Mm,
consult you again. But for
mm,
now, what we're looking for is more advice on what you think is fun, how fun it is,
mm, mm,
and how can we make it more attractive, because the submission we're aiming for, we do want to win.
mm,
So
mm, mm.
what would make it a good contestant amongst other
Ah,
student projects?
I see, I see. Okay, okay, all right. I get it. Very, very straightforward, very honest. Okay. I guess the last question would be like, what do you think the state of the game right now? Like, is it like you think it's like maybe 30%, 40%? Do you think like, oh, the core mechanics it's there, but maybe like some of the progression stuff is not there, or like how would you describe the current level of this game right now?
So whatever you're seeing isn't actually all that we've done. We've done
Mm,
more
mm,
than this,
mm,
but what we're showing today is just, I would say, a lot less.
mm, 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 mm.
So I believe if you've read through our document, you'll see there's a lot of things that are not here.
Yep.
But I don't know how to say how much percentage. What
Mm,
about the others? Maybe you guys want to say something like what you guys think?
At least even from just a visual standpoint,
mm-hmm,
I think we've still got quite a bit of work to do.
mm-hmm,
I'm still kind of learning how Unity's like lighting system works
mm-hmm,
and how I can use like shaders and stuff
mm-hmm.
to like achieve certain effects. So at the moment, I would say this is maybe like 40 to 50% of the way there.
Mm,
I
mm,
think there's
mm.
still quite a bit more like refining that I'd like to do.
Okay, I think I get where you guys are coming from. Okay, if you don't mind, let me just put some notes here. Do you mind, you guys repeat? Do you mind repeating what you said earlier? Like what you're looking for? Like how fun is it?
Sure.
Yeah,
So how fun it is, and
yeah.
compared to like,
Compared,
because the
yeah,
category we're submitting this
yeah,
for
mm,
is for students, right?
yeah.
So
Other
compared to
students, yeah,
stuff you've seen from other students as well,
yeah, yeah.
how good do you think it is? How
Mm,
fun
mm,
it is?
mm-hmm.
And how it could be more fun. Yeah.
Okay, okay. How it could
Yeah.
be more fun. Okay.
So something that we've been talking about
Mm-hmm.
is like adding like certain elements to make the game a bit more like comedic or
Mm-hmm.
something. Like
Mm-hmm.
this also plays into like how fun the game is to play, but
Mm.
we want to give it a bit more like comedic appeal, where
Mm-hmm.
it's not just like fun to play, but it should
Mm.
be like fun to watch as well. Like you
Yeah,
see
yeah.
someone else
Ah.
playing, and then you're like, oh my god, I want to try that. You know?
I
Mm-hmm.
hate to say
Fun
this,
to
but we're
play.
kind of I hate to say this word, but it's
Yeah.
like we're trying to make it streamer bait also.
Streamer fate,
There's like
streamer
this
fate.
term going around, streamer bait. So yeah.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, yeah. Okay. So, a follow-up question is, what do you think is fun about a game like I Am Bread or any kind of similar games like that?
In my opinion, it's just like the chaos, right? It's like so many things can happen. You're trying to do one thing and you
Mm,
end up doing something like completely different. You
mm,
wind up in this area where you know you didn't even know you could get here.
mm, mm, mm.
Uh,
Also,
yeah,
another thing is we have the thing where you respawn in the middle,
Yep.
which makes us think, should it be like, do you respawn all the way at the end? Which is what happens with
Mm,
I Am Bread. There's no respawns,
mm,
similar
mm,
to every other like rage bait game, I'd say.
mm, mm.
Like getting over it where
Yep.
you go all the way back to the start. So I feel like that also makes it more
Mm-hmm.
interesting. And
Mm-hmm.
I'd say it makes it fun because random things are always happening. So
Mm,
I
mm,
am bread, getting over it, like every
mm,
game like
mm,
this, even baby steps, which is
mm,
one of
mm.
our inspirations. There's just weird things going on.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I'm actually going to add something on which is not in this build right now. We've
Uh-huh.
already recorded stuff for it. We were
Uh,
thinking about adding, do you know in Portal 2
mm-hmm.
there's that uh AI that talks to the character
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
throughout the level, right?
yeah.
So we thought about adding something like this.
Mm, mm, mm.
Do you know a big Billy Bass? Do you know what those are?
I can't say I know for certain.
Okay,
What is that? Yeah.
so it's like a fish you mount on the wall and you press a button and it
Oh,
says something.
I get it.
Yeah.
Okay, I straight
So
away
we
know.
thought
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, yeah,
Right,
yeah.
yeah. So we thought it would be fun because the house is set, you're in a scientist's house and he loves
Mm,
fish. We actually modeled out many fish to put around the place as well.
mm, mm,
But one of the things we are going to add is a big Billy bass. I actually wrote lines for it as well. I'd
mm,
like you to
mm,
review. I'll send it in a bit on the
mm,
Discord. But we even recorded the lines. I want your opinion on it.
mm, mm, mm,
To for it's just a very sarcastic, mean fish watching you explore, and he's just salty about being stuck on the wall,
mm, mm, mm,
and he's just an old grump. So we thought maybe that would make it more fun, you know, you hear this commentary as you play.
mm,
But
mm.
again, we're not 100% on that, so we'd like your input on that as well.
Yeah, yeah. Understand. Okay, cool. All right. Okay, with that being said, I think I got everything I need. First things first, I would like to point out that this game's controls, in one way, it kind of makes sense in what you are creating here, but I think you might need to assist the players a little bit more. I think the overall view is that I think your controls must be very tight. The way your fish controls, right, I think will make or break how fun your game is. No matter how the game is structured, you want that chaos, you want that, unexpected things happen, right? But I think you want to also like minimize accidents that the player might do that is completely unintentional or completely like out of their control. One of the things that I encountered the most is that the way the fish flips is a little bit weird. L2 is to flip the head towards the back, so the head will flop towards the back, and R2 is to flop the tail to the front. So that's how the controls currently work. I'm not sure how I'm not sure if this is what you intended, but this is how I'm observing. Like this is what I noticed. I know you see like just now when I play, like it's super smooth, right? But actually I had quite a long time to get used to it. And I think one thing you want to do is you might want to reduce the time where the player can internalize the controls. Because when you play a game, right, every time you play a game with a control that is like very different, you want to minimize the friction of the controls. They get it, it's different, but minimize it as much as possible. While this kind of controls is not very intuitive by design, because it's meant to be kind of like quirky, it's meant to be kind of like, it's intentionally clunky, right? But that intention, you need to be able to reduce any kind of friction for knowing what those things are. Like for example, in games like I Am Bread, they highlight the buttons, right, in terms of what corners, and these are on all the time. When you move the bread, you are constantly reminded what button controls what part of the bread and therefore how to make it move. I feel like this game might need something like that as like a constant reminder, like, hey, don't forget that your controls are like this. This is how your fish works. You want the buttons to maybe like appear on the fish itself constantly, although like aesthetically it might not look very nice. I feel like this is just one of the things that you can do. You don't have to do this way specifically, but even like co-op, right, has the controls like spelled out right in front. I don't know about baby steps yet. I don't know if that's something they do, but I will talk about that in a little bit because there's also another element of this game which I feel like might go against what you guys are doing. But yeah, I think the controls needs to be a little bit more clearer just because it is very intentionally clunky. This will also help players to internalize, they understand the game very fast, and then therefore they can get to the quote unquote fun parts lah. Other thing I would also say is that the way your level is designed, right, it's very linear, but your character can kind of move backwards, and I don't know if this is like and this is like I feel like a lot of the struggles I have with these controls in the beginning, you will forget what the buttons are or flop backwards. And I feel right that fight between the players like want to like, okay, I want to move forward, but I ended up moving backward. I think you want to try to minimize that by having the controls. They can at least see like at least right there is some kind of cue for the players to be like, oops, it's my fault. I should have paid attention to it. There are a lot of moments where I'm like I'm at the corner and I need to make a move, and I really forgot which is move forward again because my face is in the front, my tail is in the back. What is to move forward? Because move forward is I need to make sure the tail flips because the tail is facing towards me. The tail needs to flip forward. So I'm like, okay, what is it again? And I pressed wrong. I moved backward. Then I was like, oh my god, I screwed up again. Just now when I was playing the game, I moved the fish like quite naturally. That's because I feel like okay, I kind of understand how the fish works, but there are times where I'm just like there and then I really forgot like what how do I move forward or backward again. Yeah. So I think you might want to have some kind of indicator lah. That's one thing. Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
So, like, yeah, you're right. The intention was to make it like clunky and a bit difficult,
Mm-mm.
but that's where I think the line gets a bit blurred for us because
Yes.
I want to know, was it hard to play or was it frustrating to play? Because that's like two different things, right? Being hard is you can get better, right? But being
Yeah.
frustrating
Yeah.
is like that's bad, right?
Okay, being hard means that I understand the rules, I understand the mechanics. What is stopping me is my ability to input precise commands, my ability to understand the distance between, one platform to another, my ability to gauge how fast do I need to react. So that is hard. Hard means that I know what I need to do, I know where my gaps are, and I know how to close that gap. Frustrating means that I want to do something, but that thing is not happening the way I want it to. So that becomes frustrating. Frustrating. The very thin line between this game is that the controls can be clunky, but they need to be tight. They need to work the way you think that it would work. But how it interacts with the environment, that would be the line, another line drawn lah. Because like, hey, all these tools are given to you. How do you interact with the environment? Because the controls are very clunky intentionally. Then the difficulty becomes how do I master these clunky controls? How do I make these clunky controls my own? So that's where they know that now the game is hard because I know how the controls work, but how do I get there? I would say one thing is that games like this usually they tend to have their difficulty in precision. Like sometimes it's very hard to get a sense of how much do I need to move or how far do I need to go to get to a certain point. And sometimes I will overshoot or undershoot. So games like this tend to have that. The more you play, the more you should get a better sense in terms of that. I never personally play I Am Bread, but watching some videos, there's a way to kind of nudge your character gently towards a particular position. The way your game works right now, there's no sense of like I can nudge it a little bit. Like I can make tiny adjustments. I know that the flops are clunky. I know the jump is clunky, but I can somewhat understand that the flop is this arc. It moves in this particular way. But there's no way to make minor adjustments so that I can then make that high risk move. So I think you want like to differentiate ways to move your character in a very low risk but make it a bit more precise. And then you want to have parts of the game where it's like, okay, now you need to make the high risk moves. You need to do the big flop, the big jump. That's when it becomes difficult. That's when it becomes like tricky, right? Every movement is a arc or like a leap, but to a certain extent it's very deliberate in terms of how far you can go, how high you can go in a sense. By
Mhm.
having smaller movements reduces that load a bit, and hopefully make the game like a little bit more fun. So like for example, I need to get to that control over there, right? But how do I get there? Now that my fish is facing this way, the only way I can go is like this. Yeah, how do I move like that? I actually don't fully understand. When I move the tail it's like that, but just now I made a 90-degree turn and I don't really know how do I do that. But I think your game needs that. Your game needs that small adjustments
Mm,
to make it like a little bit more clearer. So this is the part where it would create frustration because I know what I need to
right.
do, but there's no way in the game that can make me do that. So you need to give the player that small level of control, even though it's a little bit clunky, but at least they have that option. You see?
Just to add,
Mm.
actually, the way we design and the way I implement it is that the player should use the camera to kind of like steer the fish to the direction he wants to go.
So the camera is also part of the control, is it?
Yeah.
Yes. So
Ah, okay,
wherever
that's
you
interesting.
try to flop, it is based on the camera direction.
Oh,
So I think like let's say if you try to flop 90 degrees to
oh,
where your
this
fish
is
is,
I see.
I think
Okay.
we should add a visual like aid before you start playing somehow, like so the players know exactly which way.
This
Yeah.
is not very clear. Okay, okay. That oh, okay, okay. Then I move like this. Yeah, okay, okay. Yeah, which brings me back to my first point. The more unintuitive it is, the more assistance you need. Like you might need to show like a directional like a direction in terms of where your fish can flop. I know it's very weird. I know it's very weird to have like UI directly on your character, but for a game like this one, right? The again, like I said, the more unintuitive and clunky, the more assistance you need because you want to reduce frustration. Because I would never have guessed until you tell me. Yeah, and
What
if I were to figure it out on my own, I would never be sure. You see, like I have to like
Mhm.
test
Mhm.
multiple times, and that would take the fun away from the game. I feel. Mm.
Mm.
Uh, okay. In that case,
What
I have a
Yeah,
question. So
yeah,
yeah, go ahead.
instead of, let's say, having the UI, like having it directly on the camera,
yeah,
sorry, on the character,
yeah.
uh, would it be all right to have it, let's say, on the side? Like we have, let's say, like a diagram of the fish,
Uh huh,
and
uh
then
huh.
there's like it on towards its head you have like left trigger, and then towards its tail you have like right trigger.
Mm-hmm.
So that way you have like a visual representation, but it's not directly in front of you. It's just
Mm-hmm.
kind of like off to the side, maybe.
I think that one you might need to test because I think the way your game is structured, my gut tell me it needs to be on the character because the way your game works is that it's a 3D environment, so you want to get a sense of where your character is at all times. I think it helps to have it on the character because you don't really want to the player to look away from the camera to figure out like this is the control and then you look back. So guess your example is kind of like Quap, right? It's like this, right? To have the controls on top. It,
Yeah.
yeah, the reason why this works is because this is one scene. This is one scene, and you can see everything already. So there's no environment, there's no
See.
sense of direction because you're going from left to right. But a game like this, because you can go in terms of all kinds of direction, I think it would make more sense to do it like this. But I think you can
Hmm.
try it. You can play test it to see how tolerant people are towards having that kind of controls. But my gut tells me it needs to be something like this. Mm.
We could make it
Okay.
something like optional, like you could turn it on and off, and it could be like an overlay on the fish to show. We could try
Mm.
it out as well.
I see. Yeah, you can try default on and then turn it off as an option because I'm just going back to the funness, right? The reason why games like this is fun is because you want to get them to the point where it's fun to move around. It's like moving around feels like it's kind of silly, it's kind of clunky. But you want to
Mhm.
reduce as much frustration. You don't want them to be like, what does this button do? How do I move the fish to that direction? Like they
Mm,
should know already. Like I know that I need to move the fish in this direction, okay? And I know moving the camera will make the fish go that direction, and I know pressing this will flop it that way. And then when you make that commitment, it's like, oh yes, I did it. Yeah. So I think you want to close the gap of like not knowing what's gonna happen if I press a button. Sorry, not knowing what button to press. Yeah, but not knowing what happens after I press the button, I think that's the one thing that you want to play into a bit more. Now that you tell me about the camera, like it gives me like a different perspective already. But if there's a UI like that, I might have gotten the controls like a lot faster. Yeah. How about the jump? Does the jump tied is the jump tied to the camera as well, or is like very strictly forward movement?
Yes, both all the movement is
Mm,
tied to the camera. Yeah.
So let's say if I want to jump that direction, I jump. Okay, so if I move that direction, I see. Okay, I'm not inputting any. Okay, okay. Yeah. So one thing to also note, right, is that players tend to accumulate a lot of game vocabulary over the years. The more games they play, the more familiar things are, and the more the way things are structured, the more they think how the game works. So, like when I look at a game like this, right, it's like in my mind, a game that has this kind of controls has this kind of camera, has this kind of environment. The camera doesn't really control where you move. The direction button is the one that controls. The joystick or rather is the one that controls. But this game does not. This game, the camera is controlling the character, and that breaks the vocabulary of games like this already. So I think what you want to do is you want again, the more your game deviates away from conventional controls, the more you need to assist the player in that, help them understand that hey, this is how the game works, you know.
Yeah, so I think
Yeah.
what we can note from here is that we should add some visual aid
Mm,
from the start,
mm.
make it very clear.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
Hmm.
Okay, so again, this might be obsolete, but I think there is some things that maybe we can take a little bit from here. I'm going to talk about the camera and the level design a little bit. Okay, so the game progresses linearly, but you have like a camera that can control 360. I did not really understand this at first, but now that you mentioned that the camera is controlling the character, it makes a little bit more sense now. So some of these points might not work, but I do want to point out some things about having a 360 camera with a level design that is like pretty linear lah, in that sense. You want to be really careful in places that has a lot of tight spaces, and I think the one thing you also brought up about frustration and fun, right? Frustration is also comes from the point where it's like I want there's something that I want to do, but it is the game is not really letting me do that, or rather I don't really understand why the game is not doing the thing the way I want it to. Like if I were to put the camera from specific angles, like there will be parts where, like especially in the start of the game, right, the camera can get stuck in the environment and it makes it really really hard to see. Yeah, like this. Yeah.
Hmm.
So things like this might be a bit tricky. So you want to maybe figure out how to, like, maybe something like this, right, where you can see through the walls a little bit depending on where your character is, so that you can sort of get a sense of where the character is going. Like for example, if it's like this, right, if I were to move my fish from this angle, again, of course I can't move the camera away, but oh, okay, but yeah, I think you want to maybe
Yeah.
try to reduce moments like that where the camera can get stuck in the environment and then you can't really see your character. I
Hmm.
think this is the most apparent in the front. So yeah, this part.
Oh.
Oops. Again, forget already. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, uh,
Um, yeah, this is something that we talked about. We've been talking about actually.
yeah. Especially
So
this part here.
we've been experimenting with shaders to try and
Mm-mm.
fix that. Where we have like the dither, where when your camera like clips into something, it like fades out a little,
Yep.
so you can see the fish through it.
Mm-hmm.
You can think of like what they do in Super Mario Odyssey, where when you look through an object, it like has this dithering thing going on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Yeah.
And another reason why we made sure, like, I know the level seems pretty linear. This is actually something that we really tried not to make it linear in the beginning,
Mm-mm.
but whatever flow we kept coming up with, it's just, I mean, I guess it's on me. I'm not skilled enough for this, but I couldn't come up with any way where I'm like, okay, let me come up with multiple ways to get across. And every time I do it, I'm
Ah,
like, I just can only think of one,
I
you
see. I
know?
see.
Yeah, it was a bit of a struggle.
Okay. Okay.
On that note, actually, sorry. Uh,
Mm.
yeah, I was going to say, because I think one of the reasons that we have this issue was
Mm-hmm.
because we did a lot of the level design at the same time that the player character, like the character controller, was being developed. So we were
Yep.
doing all of these things in parallel. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it was kind of, yeah, just like bouncing off each other. So
Mm.
we weren't really sure what would work in the
Mm-hmm.
level
Mm.
until like a lot of it was done already.
Mm,
So
mm, I'm gonna give you some kind of advice, but I don't know if this is something that you have time to look at or not. But I'm just gonna give it to you anyways. I don't have any visual example, but I'm just gonna bring back to I Am Bread. I Am Bread, I feel it's ultimately a sandbox game. So while the level has a progression that is somewhat linear, like there is a place you need to go, there is like a thing that you need to do, but the whole level is designed like a sandbox, and your character can at any point of time climb or to maneuver or to like shimmy their way up to certain points, and they can kind of get their way around the level almost freely. From what I understand, because your game is designed very linearly, you are very stuck in terms of how the character can move and where can it move. Because the moment your character fall off the table, that's it. You have to start again. The moment your character is like off by the flapper, like by a little bit, you have to start again. You miss a frying pan, start again. Like there's a lot of like very rigid structure in terms of how your level is designed, and I don't really know if that plays well into the kind of game that you're doing, because games like this, right? The controls are clunky. The controls are clunky. The it's intentionally hilarious. But if it's a sandbox, you have ways to overcome that mistake. Oh, oops! I fall off the table. Now I'm on the floor. How do I get up? Oh, there's a platform here, or maybe there's something I can climb, or whatever it is. So it becomes like a sandbox. The nature of games like this, I feel, you might want to have that little bit of sandbox nature. And because your game is in 3D, I feel that there is some kind of conflict. A 2D game like this, like for example, co-op is, you're moving from left to right. Getting over it is also left to right. So your movement is heavily restricted already by the camera, by the character controls. So there's not a lot of things you have to think about already. Because if I fall, that's it, end of the game, I start again. But your game has a 3D environment, but it's limited by a linear progression. If your fish control is tight and very clear, very clear, although like maybe like hard to internalize, but at least like it's really really clear like how you can move your character. Your level design freedom suddenly opens up. Then you know like, oh, this is how high the fish can jump. Then I know how high certain objects needs to be. Or this is where like if the fish can climb certain things, or maybe okay, this is how I would have the part where the fish can climb on on this particular object or whatnot. Or maybe I need to move this object, push it down so that it becomes like a slope. Then I can move it up, like that kind of thing. So you want to have like a little bit more of a sandboxy kind of feel. And the tolerance for a good level design for sandbox is a little bit lower. Like you don't have to make it like really, really rock solid. And then you let the controls be the one that is like, constantly challenging the player, right? Or how do I move up there? How do I maneuver my character through this environment? How do I maneuver my character through that environment? And I think that maybe that's where the fun can come in. So that sandboxy nature. Yeah. What I can tell you about here is that if the game progresses very linearly, you're kind of forced to think about how the player overcomes a mistake.
Yeah, actually, our original intention was to make it non-linear, but
Mm,
then
mm,
when we realized that, oh my God, if they can go on the floor, that's a whole layer of things to model, things
mm.
to make.
Yep.
And because, like, at the end of the day, it's a final FYP, we don't have
Yeah.
much time. We
Yep.
had to cut down on it.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, eventually, maybe after, who
Yeah.
knows? But this actually makes so much sense. It clears it up a lot.
If I were to look at your game from a very abstract perspective, really, really abstract, your game has like this kind of movement, right? You start from here. There is this jump you need to make to this table, okay, and then there's this table that you need to cross, okay. You need to cross here. You need to cross here, and you need to cross here. So from an abstract perspective, right, it feels very linear, right? But the one thing that it feels really rigid is because you cannot go to any of these parts. You cannot fall, and if you fall down, you have to start again. You can technically have this kind of abstract movement, but you can fall down. You can land on these places. Okay, by having this like a sandbox, then it becomes like I need to navigate this path, but I can correct my mistakes. How do I get the players, right? So maybe if the player falls down in this direction, they're kind of like, oh, I can climb back up here, maybe. For example, if the player starts from here, you have like, if I fall down, or maybe I need to come back up here and I start again. But then once I cross a certain threshold, it's a new sandbox already. It is still kind of linear, but because it's a sandbox, it allows player to correct their mistakes. It allows the player to like readjust. And by having a little bit more space to play around with the controls, it helps them to internalize the controls a little bit better. I know it's tricky, but funny enough, right, whatever that you're doing right now, actually it's not going against the sandboxy nature. because even though you make your game like a sandbox, you are also planning some sort of path. But the only difference is that if you deviate from the path, it's still okay. That's the only difference.
It does,
Yeah.
it does. So basically, it's like, let's say you fall off somewhere in the first half of the level, instead of
Yes.
immediately respawning. I,
Hmm.
I assume this means you give the player a way to like climb back up.
Yes. Yep.
Is
Yep.
that correct?
Yep. But of course, you need to rethink the level up because, hey, if I fall off here, why not? Why don't I just climb here? From a different perspective, it's like I can climb this path, which is maybe slightly easier, or I can come down to climb this path, which is maybe a bit harder. In a way that plays into the sandboxy nature a little bit. Because at the end of the day, you still need a linear path. You're not gating the players like if you fall here, that's it. You teleport back to the top. If that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll try to incorporate this for our like project itself, like aside from the submission that's coming up, right? But
Yep.
the
Yep.
main final year project, I think we can see what we can do with this
Mm-mm.
because aside from this, there's another level, right?
Yeah.
So we can try to see how we can bridge that in both of them.
Yep.
Definitely doable.
Yep. You know what? Actually, I'm just gonna the point it out here, like maybe it might help, lah. Because your level is linear. Because your level is linear, I don't know if a fixed camera would help because that might also cut down on the need to have controls that tied to the camera, and that might cut down a little bit more UI on the fish itself.
Hmm.
But the fixed camera maybe can help solve another problem because if it's linear, I feel that making it if your character moves like this again, like games like this, right, making a fixed camera might solve that problem. But again, I now that I know the camera moves, I feel like I need to readjust my perspective again. But this was my original plan feedback lah, that maybe having a keep fixed camera might help. Mm.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Do you think with a fixed camera, it would be more fun to like knock over objects and things like that? Because in the beginning, we actually did consider it, but
Yeah.
I wasn't really a fan of it because I feel like it takes away a lot of exploration, in my opinion.
Yes.
Like me knocking over objects, me
Mm.
viewing the environment, I feel
Yeah.
like it's a bit restricting. No, I was just, do you think it would make it more fun or chaotic with a fixed camera? Because that's like we want it to be like, okay, I'm knocking things over, I
Mm.
can mess with the environment.
Mm. I would say the reason why I recommend fixed camera only because your level is linear. And because your level is linear, that's why I think a fixed camera might work. You are right in that sense where having a fixed camera takes away a lot of the freedom, but I would argue that the level design already takes away that freedom, and I feel that that already limits what you can do already. So why not lean into that? You're already locked into a particular path already. So why not let the camera narrow down that view a little bit more? Because you're closing the gap of the design space so that the player has less room to make any errors. It's not to say that a linear camera will not be fun or not. It's just that I feel that a 360 camera with a linear level does not really fit together, if that makes sense. That's about it because I think like again I only got to the point where I got to the toolbox at the end. But so yeah, so I think the last playthrough I got to the toolbox at the end, but then I got stuck there. I don't really know what to do from then on. So yeah, so
Yeah.
that's all the feedback I have. I hope this is helpful. Yeah, I think. Do you have any other questions that I might not cover here after talking through all of this?
Nothing comes to mind at the moment. No.
Mm.
Yeah, like definitely we will be contacting you again after this because there's a lot more that like you haven't seen
Mm,
about the game and
mm.
stuff like that.
Okay.
Do you mind if I send you over the lines I wrote? Because I do want your input on that,
Can.
like for
Mm.
the character.
Yeah, sure,
Just you
no
can take
problem.
a quick read, see how you feel about it. Give me a second, just sending it over.
Okay.
I'm also considering that since the setting is in this kind of like mad scientist's house,
Mm-hmm.
instead of just having the fish like mounted on the plaque just as the plaque as is,
Mm-hmm.
thinking I like I'm kind of thinking, is there any way I can have it like move from location to location, right? Or
Mm-hmm.
something like that, so it can like follow you around somehow.
I see.
But
Floating on
You can always use like speech bubblish kind of, like have a character, like have the character's portrait appear and then the lines appear. But you might want to frame where this fish is, and maybe at certain points in the game you can look at that fish and maybe when the fish talks, maybe the mouth moves or whatever it is. But I think like having it follow, I think you might need to justify maybe like the thing that fish is on the rail along the wall or
Yeah.
something, you know. Yeah, so
Uh,
I think the expression is completely up to you lah, because I don't think there's any particular good or bad way.
for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. I feel like one thing about you, one thing really got me going about your game is I think the design is really nice. I think like aesthetic
Oh,
wise, like the fish design, you know,
Yeah.
the kitchen design. I think it really works. I think that you know, having the limbs, I think that can really play into it. This is something that I just want to caution you against. Is that if there is something that in the game that completely transform the way your character move, you want to be a little bit careful, because that means that they have to relearn a lot of things.
yeah, yeah, that's
Yeah,
what we were worried about.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I did like because for the project, right, I had to
yeah,
do like research and I did consensus forms
yep,
for to collect data. I did like a survey with 100 people, and
mm,
majority said they were okay with learning new things. And I was so surprised because I didn't think people would like that. So then I
mm,
started looking into Mario Odyssey. Okay, Super
yeah,
Mario
yeah,
Odyssey. You you once you put the hat on different things, it actually changes how you play like each object or each character you take a shape of.
mm-hmm,
So you have new mechanics for each thing, and you literally only use them once or twice.
mm,
So I
mm,
think I'm going to try to see how they made that appealing,
yeah,
because this isn't like you use it temporarily and you don't
mm,
use it anymore. This is you use it for a good chunk and then you
yeah,
do something for a
yeah.
good chunk. So if they could make it work, I need to figure out how I can make it work.
I see, I see. I think Odyssey is the one where Mario can take on properties
He
of
uses that
different.
hat.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you throw
He,
the hat on something and then he will like gain its power,
yeah.
something like that, right? Yeah, yeah.
And
Okay.
it actually changes how you play the controls and everything. I mean, it doesn't
Mm,
change super drastically, but
yeah,
it does change
yeah.
for every single thing.
I see. I think you want to be a little bit careful with that, because
Yeah.
again, I haven't played the game, so I can't really say for sure. But it doesn't change the way, like can you still jump? Can you still do attacks? Like are those things still present?
No, the attacks change and the movement is still the same, but
Mm,
you
mm,
can't do jumps for a lot of the characters that you will
mm,
be
mm,
ending
mm.
up as.
Yep.
And then attack also changes. So
Yeah,
mostly
I
jump
see.
and attack.
My
Yeah.
my gut tells me, because although it does change, it doesn't change fundamentally. It doesn't make you like, yeah, you cannot jump, but attack is still attack, right? There is an attack button, and the attack button still is still an attack button. My concern with the fish is that once you get the legs, the way you move is completely transformed. So it's like saying like
Yeah.
it's not it's like saying like you're removing the attack button becomes like something else altogether, you know.
Mm,
Yeah,
yeah.
so while players are open to learn new things, Mario Odyssey still falls under the convention of a 3D action game, and a lot of the fundamental controls of how the 3D action game, even though the character plays differently, still
Mm,
technically the same. You still move the same.
yeah.
Like you still, you know,
Right,
pressing
right.
the like if you were to say like, if Mario Odyssey can transform and then suddenly the analog stick doesn't move you anymore, then that becomes really
Mm,
weird, right? Then that's when you're,
yeah.
yeah, that, because my worry is that if you add legs to the fish, it might have that effect. It might suddenly make them feel like, hey, moving is completely different. Is not the same anymore. So you want to be careful. The one
Mm,
suggestion I can give you is that this is something that maybe you can also experiment with. Is try to give these power ups from the beginning, but they're really really bad. Like you can give the fish like really bad legs at the beginning, so that at least you have some way to use the legs if you want to, or maybe the legs just don't really function very well, but you can actually control it. Then when you get the legs later on, then you know, then you can feel like, oh, now I got better legs, now I can move a little bit better. Maybe that's something that you can
right.
try also, because you're having this progression. Right? My concern is that yeah, player willing to learn new things, but I worry that it's completely upside down already. It's not
Mm,
like adding on top. It's not like tweaking. It's not like shifting. Yeah, it's not like yeah, you're breaking the convention once again. It turns from iron bread into a baby steps, if that makes sense.
right.
Like yeah,
I
if
see, I
a
see.
player play iron bread for a while and then suddenly they say, hey, it's not iron bread anymore, it's now baby steps. Will they tolerate that or not? That's the thing.
Mm,
Mm,
sure, sure. I understand.
yep. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
That is something.
The changes that we're making, I
Yeah.
guess most of them are more towards the quality of life, right?
Yeah.
At least for our submission that's upcoming in like 2 days.
Mm-mm.
So a lot of the changes we'll be making is towards quality of life. But so a lot of the gameplay changes you mentioned, I really appreciate because I think these are some things that I guess we haven't really been able to consider because we've
Mm-mm.
had like a bit of like a narrow view of the game.
Mm-mm.
But I do really like these ideas. I think maybe we can try to integrate a lot of these into our final submission
Mm-hmm.
later this year.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate
Yeah.
your feedback.
If you were to try to implement those complex ideas, one thing I do recommend is that you when you have your fish, right, and you have the way it controls, uh, okay, how to control your fish. Okay, so you have like the fish controls already, and then you want to create an environment where you sort of like figure out, and then after that you want to figure out a very basic sandbox area. Like for example, if I can jump, how high, how high is the, how high can I jump in this level? Like for example, how high can I jump? What is the sort of distance I can flop? You want to create like a very simple environment where you know the limits of how your character can move, and then once you figure out, you can create like these templates, like this is how high I think this to be, this is how far certain things need to be, and then after that you can use that to block out your level first, and then only you build the aesthetics over it. Because I think like to avoid any kind of friction in the future, this is the approach I recommend. Lock down your fish controls, build a sandbox to figure out the limit, and then only you start building the level. Don't build the level first. Really figure out the sandbox first. Yeah, build like a small arena, like an arena or something where you can freely move around and just kind of figure out like how you want the fish to move in specific kinds of environment. And then maybe you can create like a spring, to see how high you can push. Maybe you want to create ramps just to see how your fish can flop up. Yeah, then you fine tune your fish again, fine tune the controls again, figure out the sandbox again, fine tune again. Once you know all your limits are, then suddenly it's like level design is a piece of cake already. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Cool. All right. Thanks so much. If there's nothing else, then we're done lah.